at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about prioritizing.
Yep.
Can you give us like 2 or 3 practical examples of how can an entrepreneur free up their time?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is to feel empowered about this, because I think often the problem is that we can feel overwhelmed. As you say, as entrepreneurs, we're super busy, but of course we have to remember that the most empowering thing about time management is it is one of the few resources that exists where we all have exactly the same amount.
Yeah.
Like often when
free, actually.
And it's free. Although you can buy more, you can buy some of it back. So the relative value changes relative to you. But certainly we all have the same amount. And so whether we're looking at Richard Branson or Elon Musk or whatever, they have a very different resource set to both each other and to ourselves. And yet, in terms of the number of hours they have in the day, they have exactly the same. And so I think we have to feel empowered by that rather than overwhelmed as our starting point, because it means that we do have full control. We do have the ability to decide what we want to prioritize, what we value, how much time we want to spend on certain priorities. And we have the ability, unfortunately, there's lots of information out there on how to do a really good job of your time management. And it's such a precious resource. And so it's always worth improving how you do it. So it's a worthwhile activity. So that's the nice thing about this area, and why I love working in it is because if I'm saving an entrepreneur time, and I'll talk about some specific examples, but I'm not talking about a few minutes here and there. I'm talking about half their working week or more. It's mind-blowing the impact that can have on them personally, on their business, but also what they can do for the world. So I'm extremely excited when I get to work with entrepreneurs on doing this, because of the huge impact it can have. So if we take as read, everyone's got the same amount of time. Everyone would like more time, and particularly as entrepreneurs, there is always more valuable stuff that you can do with your time. It's not like a paid role where actually your employer will pay you the same amount of money whether you get it done in 6 hours or 8 hours. Like, as an entrepreneur, if you can do the same amount of work in 2 hours that you were doing in 8, and that then you can use that 6 hours to do something valuable, that is huge.
Yeah.
So it's worth spending the time there. The question then is, so how do you make a start of this? Because most entrepreneurs really get stuck. And an example that I share, I was talking a bit to a business owner about this. So he was having a demo of AirManual. He said, "This is fantastic, Alexis. It's easy to use, and I can totally see how I could use this in my business. But I want you, and I want your help." And we've got like consultants that help that can help clients to kind of break the back of this and so on. But he said, I just don't know where to start. Like, I had no idea where to start. And the hilarious thing is, already he was mentally blocking to the point of being like, so maybe I need to go talk to my team. Maybe let's put this off a few more weeks. Like, already he was like putting the brakes on and undermining his need and passion for improving his time management. So he said, I don't know where to start. I said, well, what's currently taking most of your time per week? He said, doing price quotes takes me it takes me 3 hours per day. I was like, seriously, 3 hours per day? So 15 hours per week you're spending doing price quotes for customers. He said, yeah, it takes quite a bit of time. We have lots of them to do. And particularly it had been increasing because of the nature of the business. And he said, I know, I should probably document it and get it passed over to the team. I suspect it'd take me about 8 hours, but I've just not found the time. Now, of course, even if we assumed it was going to take 8 hours, if it takes him 3 hours per day, 8 hours means that it would only take 3 days before we got 3 times 3, that's 9 hours, that he'd get that time back. So that'd be a good investment. Like if you said you could do something now that you would be break even in 3 days, you'd be crazy not to do it generally. And particularly since it keeps on giving at that rate. So I said, well, we've got 45 minutes left on this call. Let's see what we can get done. And in 45 minutes, we'd documented the entire process end to end. And we'd scheduled a follow-up call where we could then implement it with his team, which meant that then his account managers were able to do price quotes. And the best bit was that when I spoke to him about, so later as a part of an impact review call, I said, well, so you've freed up 3 hours per day. That must be amazing. Is that the biggest impact this had? He said, no, biggest impact has been that previously customers were waiting days or weeks for price quotes, and now they're getting them in minutes or hours.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, wow, yeah, what that must do for conversions and things. So I think that's one of the challenges that as entrepreneurs that we often have is, in theory, we know that there's a return on investment of that time. We know that we should be delegating some of these activities. And the issue is that we either don't make the time or we don't know quite how. And I think the reason that we don't do that is because we make it bigger than it needs to be. I think we think about, oh, I need to document the whole business. And whilst that may be an outcome, that takes years.